Welcome to the Intrinsically Ordered podcast. Today is a special and more political episode talking about Jubilee, talking about debate, talking about the left wing as a debate endeavor. Today I'm joined by my good friends Greg and Oliver, who both have impressive credentials themselves in the debate sphere.
I'm gay married. Ooh, right? Like,
what was off about my aim in the first place?
I don't know. That might take a long time to figure out. But
It's deferred that the woman is innocent, she's not guilty, and the man is guilty.
What about Johnny Depp? Did that happen in that case? What about in Chris Brown? Did that happen in that case?
Chris Brown?
What about in Donald Trump? Did that happen in that case?
I just feel like you kind of retreat into this semantic fog.
Let's hand it over to Lilo and Stitch. If you can introduce yourself first, Greg.
Hi, yeah, I'm dressed very seriously, as the occasion merits. I am somebody who stumbled into doing this debate stuff. I have done 3 shoots with Jubilee that have turned into 4 videos, and I have thought pretty extensively about how to conduct myself on these sets with the cameras rolling, and I think I've done a pretty decent job of accomplishing my goals.
Awesome. And Oliver, you got more debate experience than Greg and I. Tell me about it.
Well, not directly on Jubilee. I mean, I'm a one-timer. I'm a one-hit wonder, at least for now. So, you guys are seasoned veterans. I'm just a newbie. No, but in all seriousness, I've been in and out of the online political realm, just kind of hearing people's thoughts, enjoying sharing my thoughts online. And I enjoyed the one Jubilee appearance that I'm on. I'm looking forward to future opportunities, and just looking forward to having a nice conversation about how these online spaces can be made better and improved by our presence, and what other people can do to kind of help detox the right-wing media ecosystem that seems to be ever so large and growing by the day.
Oliver, you're too humble. You got to flex your other podcasts and stuff that you've done. You're not some random person on the internet.
I don't really know if you can really flex a whatever podcast appearance. Like, I feel like there's nothing there that's like flexible. You know what I mean? The only flex is I survived. You know what I mean? The only flex is like a 6-hour session. Somehow my brain was not completely reduced to mush.
I think that's the main difference. Like, for the Jubilee stuff, I'm talking for like 10 or 15 minutes, like before it's cut down, and I can prepare for like a few weeks and have a really good 10 minutes. I don't know if I'd be able to do multiple hours.
You do kind of run out of things to talk about. In case not everybody has seen my face ever, been on the 2 Jubilees, the one with Greg, with Jordan Peterson, where we kind of imploded his career, and as well with Michael Knowles, where we did some damage control. And then on the internet, I do a bunch of like technical debates with Catholics on philosophy and theology, which are way too technical. Like, I gotta have more fun debates. So I've done some of the longer formats, but not quite 6 hours with professional sexists, something I haven't done yet. I have done 1.5 hours with professional homophobes and transphobes, but I cannot flex 6 hours with professional sexists as well.
Well, I can tell you, you're not missing out. Okay, you are absolutely not missing out. Okay, this is an achievement that I don't think you have to put down on your bucket list. Okay, like
what did you have to do in your previous life, Oliver, to deserve 6 hours on the whatever podcast?
I've really thought about it before. I've thought about what did I have to do in my previous life? Because I've always thought about it. Like, one of my opinions is everyone who has a peanut allergy must have like been a serial killer in their previous life. So I think that in this case, in order to debate Andrew Wilson, that's actually like orders of magnitude worse than having a peanut allergy. So I think I basically was probably Thanos is what I'm thinking. I snapped multiple planets out of existence, and this is the retribution that has been the cosmic justice, the hammer of justice that has been bestowed onto me after that. So it's unfortunate.
We should give the audience a 30-second recreation. So I'll be Andrew Wilson. This is what it's like. Oliver, if murdering someone was good, would you do it, Oliver? Would you murder someone if it was good to murder someone? How about that, Oliver? Huh? Answer the question, Oliver. Huh? It's 5 hours of that.
What's good?
Like, thank you.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
So tonight's conversation, I think, will be a fun, free-flowing conversation where we have 3 of us. We've done debates of all different stripes, and we're all on the left. Unfortunately, the George Soros money has not kicked in, and the Democratic Party does not pay for our private yachts quite yet. So this might tank our future career in just taking checks. But if we went to the right wing, we could just take checks from the Russian government. So
Yeah,
we're kind of in the middle
yeah.
where no foreign power or rich person is giving us money.
But we're available. We're fielding offers.
Yeah, if you are a foreign
Exactly.
nation who wants to sponsor this, I will shill for you. Or if you're a billionaire, I will promote your policies.
Yeah. Good
And
for you.
so tonight we're going to talk about why do we talk to professional sexists and racists. We're going to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of Jubilee as a medium for getting ideas out there. And then if we have time, going into a little bit of prep and tips for people if you want to get into kind of the left-wing debate sphere or onto Jubilee. Not that any of us are masters of the craft, but if you're listening to this and you're like, maybe I want to debate one day, it turns out nobody was born a TikTok debater, and nobody from birth was destined to debate Andrew Wilson or to go on to Jubilee. So,
Other than me, apparently, if that was my fate.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we.
Other than you in your previous life, you deserve that. But if you're at
Yeah.
home,
Anyone else.
you two one day can debate professional pieces of shit on the internet.
Well, if you think about it, I actually I it's like Jesus died for your sins. Like I debated Andrew Wilson, so you didn't have to. Okay, like I was the sacrifice.
Vicariously.
So think about
Yeah.
it. Like think about I've died. You must now worship me for eternity. Okay.
So the first criticism I think that all of us have heard from people on the left is that by debating people, we're platforming people. That to engage with these people that are obviously bad faith, there's not a world in which somebody should have to debate their very existence against people. By talking to these people, we're only giving them credibility. That if in some way we can ignore these people, make fun of them, if we can mock them, if we can ignore them, we're actually going we are going to progress progressive policies into the mainstream. So by virtue of us talking to them, we are making the conversation worse and making it hard for our side to win. What sayest thou's over there to that type of argument?
I think the first thing is who is platforming who. I currently have across all platforms maybe about 800 people following me. Jordan Peterson has like 9 million or something, and Jubilee has like 10 million. So of the three people in that equation, if the video is getting made and they are going to have Jordan Peterson debate people, and they're making a video about this in Los Angeles County, where there are probably hundreds of thousands of people who are desperate to break into the old or new media industry any way they can. The video is happening. They're not going to not be able to find people who are in the video. So if I do the video and I do a better job than like the average person, I am marginally but still actually kind of at best, reducing the harm of the video. And so I think that when people go and they say, "Oh, like why are you platforming Jordan Peterson?" I'm not platforming Jordan. I don't, what platform? What are you talking about? Um, the second thing I would say more broadly is that if you let me just make up some insane conspiracy theory, like, oh, you need to eat safety pins. If you eat safety pins, then it will keep your iron levels up in your body, and then like you'll be right. No one thinks that, right? So if I decided to
Actually, no, I'm kidding.
yeah, it's like there's this. I remember there's like South Park episode where there was some sort of like it's like new scary trend, and then like the people on the news in the South Park episode would talk about this new scary trend, and all the kids would be like, "That sounds fun," right? So there is something to be said about the irony, but we are talking about people who are the most watched people on the internet. We're talking about people who are in the White House. We're talking about people who have the ear of the people in the White House. These are not kind of obscure figures. And just because in your personalized content algorithm you're not seeing them, that doesn't mean that they aren't being piped directly to the screens of millions of people. So the ship has kind of sailed with respect to, let's avoid making these people more known. These people are very well known. So that's sort of my collection of thoughts on this.
Well, the cat's out of the bag. Like, we're not, to your point, Greg, we're not platforming people. Like, these people run the White House. These people are destroying the country. Like, the cat is so far out of the bag, and I feel like some left-wing people just want to, like, look at the bag and keep investigating to see if the cat's still in there, and then they cry about the fact that the cat's not in the bag. And it's like, I wish the cat was in the bag. I wish Michael Knowles wasn't spewing this stuff on the internet, but like he is. And I think both some religious fundamentalists have like such a view of the world of like pure idealism and no practicality to things. And I think some people on the left are like, well, yeah, if we never had these discussions, these ideas wouldn't get out. And it's like, yeah, like in the ideal world, I'm not like Michael Knowles is a amazing good for society, and I wish Andrew Wilson had a platform. It's like, but they do, and so we could either talk about theory or we could do something. Oliver, what are your thoughts on the topic of platforming in the value of debate?
Oh, now I gotta come up with more smart ideas because you guys already said all the good stuff.
ChatGPT.
Okay, one second. Let me go quick. Okay. Now, yeah, I obviously agree with what's already been said. Yeah, I think there is a level of like, I don't know, like we're making a descriptive claim and they're making a normative claim, like a prescriptive one. Like we shouldn't have to debate people. You know what I mean? Like these things shouldn't be up for debate. And I'm like, no one's disagreeing with you about what shouldn't be up for debate. But they are. So, like, if we accept that, and we accept that fundamentally they are, like, people vote on these things. Whether you want people to be able to vote on whether you have the right to marry who you love, or whether you have the right to bodily autonomy, or whether you have the right to, enter spaces and not be discriminated against based on an immutable characteristic, even if we agree in the ideal world that those shouldn't be up for debate, too bad they are. So like, what are we going to do in the face of that? And the reality is, like, this isn't 2011 anymore. This isn't, politics has been completely changed by the media ecosystem. And the reality is the left is lagging super far behind. I mean, like there is not a left-wing Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? There's not someone like that who has captured the media ecosystem in the same way. And not to reiterate the same things, but like, look, like this whole idea. I mean, I've even gotten a little bit of pushback now because I published a YouTube video on my YouTube page with like 5,000 subscribers responding to the debate of Charlie Kirk. People are like, why are you platforming Charlie? I'm like, Charlie was the 5th most watched stream on election night. Okay, like I am honored that you think I am that influential, that I am completely shaking everything up and I'm going to make or break Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. But the reality is, like we've already said, these videos are going to be made. These people are already saying these things. Largely, people are ignoring them. You know what I mean? Like a majority of people are ignoring them. The reality is social media companies and media companies in general want to make money. So they strategically target this content algorithmically at the people who are most receptive to it, which are primarily, when we're talking about like specifically manosphere type content, very young teenage boys, and to try to get them young. So, if we're not in those spaces, if we're not, also alongside that pushing back, they're getting the worst part of the message without any pushback. And I think that's actually the worst case scenario and what's kind of been leading to the situation that we're in right now.
And I think the left is largely unaware of how big the right media sphere is. Between talking to people who are left-wing, but just kind of they're not in the political space, they're just normal people, and then talking to people who are professionals in the space, I've had conversations where people like don't know who Joe Rogan is, or during some of these debates, these people show up to debates not knowing who the person is, and it's like, I envy you. Like, I wish I didn't know the intricacies of Andrew Wilson. And I wish that I haven't watched dozens of podcasts from Michael Knowles. And I wish I hadn't read all of Jordan Peterson's books. So when people are like, well, I just ignore all of it. It's like, awesome. Like, that is the plan for you to have a happy life, is to not know who any of these people are. But if you're going to be engaged in, like, pragmatic concerns and wanting to pass policies that help people, like, you have to know who your opposition is. Otherwise, you're like blindfolded in the middle of a parking lot trying to box somebody, and you're not even in the ring. It's not that you're not punching; it's that you're just not even in the right venue because you're oblivious to the media out there. And like, you have to know the space. And another criticism that I've heard from the left is like, well, by listening to these people and engaging with their arguments, you're giving them credibility. What we should be doing is we should mock these people, we should make fun of these people, we should commit violence, or like whatever it is. What do you guys make of the argument that the proper response to these people is just laugh and ignore them and make fun of them, and that's that?
I think well, first of all, just something you said a little bit earlier, in that I I think that people can have different roles to play, right? Like if you want to just show up in the midterms and vote and show up every 4 years and vote for the president, and you want to, like send, find an organization you like and send them $5 and whatever. Like that's fine. Not everybody needs to be in the trenches of this. And I, by the way, I'm not saying I'm in the trenches. I've dedicated like 3 afternoons of my life to going on Jubilee. I'm not some sort of like warrior for the left, right? But I'm just trying to say that, people can have different roles to play. And the thing that I would be really pushing back against is people getting mad at us for how we're engaging with it. I'm not saying that everyone needs to be like watching all this stuff, but like don't get mad at us for, oh, okay, there's going to be this person in this video and it's going to be viewed millions of times, and those are just things that are established facts. Okay, maybe if we prepare a lot and we become one of the people in the video, we can make the outcome a little better. Like, don't get mad at us for that. In terms of, whether to mock people or stuff like that, I mean, I get like if you're throwing the kitchen sink at a problem, there's different things in the sink. And one of the things in that sink might be like, okay, let's create content where we're just mocking and laughing at these people. That way, somebody who's sort of, whose attitude already sort of predisposes them to disliking that person can kind of have that reaffirmed, right? Or have that strengthened. Like that's fine. Like you can do that, but there are people who already take these figures seriously, and those people need to be reached as well. And so maybe we can have some people just mocking these guys and calling them stupid, and then we can have other people who are kind of debating them on the substance, and we can have a multi-pronged approach because that's what they do. If you look at what the right, like the professional right-wing media and political people do, I'm convinced none of it is informed by anything other than just ruthless calculation, and they do all of it. They will send, Steven Crowder to a college campus to just make fun of people. They will have, like a paywalled lecture on some esoteric topic. So if they're throwing the kitchen sink, we should throw the kitchen sink too.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think also, yeah, it definitely depends on the approach and it depends on the audience. So, for example, how you handle a 5-hour debate is going to be different than how you handle a 10-minute appearance on Jubilee. You know what I mean? So you might be able to flesh out more ideas and kind of get more into the nitty gritty. And if your opponent is not a steaming pile of shit, you might actually be able to be a little bit more good faith and actually try to engage in some sort of productive dialogue. But yeah, if you have to get the zingers in and stuff like that, because that's what the audience is looking for, then I think that that's kind of the route that you have to take. I also think that a lot of the critique that gets levied at people that do what we do almost seems a bit misplaced, if that makes sense. So I'm not going to call out particular people, but if there's an individual who like spends all of their time live streaming debating random nobody Trump supporters, that's different than debating people who are like established figures in their field and already have an influence. I think the former is kind of almost like, I don't know, like liberal like dunking porn. I don't want to make like a but like, you know what I mean, like they just like to see stupid people getting owned, and I think that isn't really that productive. But I do think that challenging actual people who unfortunately actually matter, and have followings is going to be more effective than doing whatever they're doing. So if you want to critique people who are just kind of bottom of the barrel, shooting fish in a barrel, running rhetorical circles around like, playing basketball at a senior's home, basically, fine. I'm kind of on board with that. I actually don't think that does much, and I think that probably just contributes to a media ecosystem of more divisiveness and not people being more politically informed. But for people like, Jordan Peterson, Charlie Kirk, Steven Crowder, people who, have millions of followers across their platforms, and people who take them seriously, whether or not we take them seriously, that is a way in which you can push back effectively, and I hope to do. That's why I'm I've somewhat rebranded myself as someone who's not going to go on TikTok live and ask for the stupidest person to come forward. So yeah.
Yeah. Also, I would say the one thing neither of us addressed, but I think I can speak for all three of us, that we don't support violence to further a political goal, because that was one thing that Cade brought up. Yeah, and with the like kind of like debating randos thing, I am my personal opinion on that right now. One, it's not something I could do if I wanted to. I have to really prepare for all of these debates. Two, the fact that the people on the right do it, the fact that this kind of like cold, calculated right-wing media ecosystem pumps out so much of that, it's like, okay, if the people who are totally craven are doing this, and the only reason they do things is for their own benefit and for their own project, it makes me infer that there might be some like value to it. But it's not, I'm not I'm not like an evangelist for it.
Yeah.
And it's, and then I just think most broadly, just, it's, I think one thing that the left could do better, and this is neither an explicit nor an implicit critique or categorization of Oliver's pushback on that thing. I'm not lumping Oliver into this, but I feel like just generally we kind of like yell at each other too much. It's just like
fair.
it's just
Yeah.
like like, oh, okay, like you're doing that
Yeah,
or whatever. That's not how I do it, but hey, you seem nice, and you claim that this is you claim that this is moving people. So okay, whatever.
Well, I think that's a great point, that we don't all have to be on the same page. I think when we're talking about debates on this podcast and we say things, none of these are universal, right? Like, there's absolutely a time to mock somebody, and there's also absolutely times where you have to take the argument seriously, and there's times where you ignore the argument. There are conversations around these, and I think specifically when it comes to mocking, like, from our viewpoint, it is absurd to say these things. But you also have to realize that, like, we win by addition and not by subtraction. And, like, if we want to win over people on the other side, we have to at least understand what they're thinking and understand, like, what things would change their mind. And sometimes there are people who are legitimately just like, can you explain the axiom of, like, empathy to me? Like, because I'm not sure empathy is helpful. And it's like, damn, like that should be a really easy thing to explain to somebody. But if you're mocking and condescending, they're not going to change their mind. Or all of these basic concepts. Maybe another point that Greg and I have talked about is that there's the professional class of debaters on the other side, and then there's just like your grandpa who's a Republican. And those two are not the same. Like, when your grandpa repeats a talking point from Michael Knowles, he's not Michael Knowles. Like, Michael Knowles has read the data on these issues and has purposefully looked away from data that critiques his case. And, like, we can hold Michael Knowles responsible for really shitty opinions because he should know better, because he has looked at the issues. But, like, your Republican grandpa isn't Michael Knowles, and he hasn't looked at every study, and he doesn't have this malice in his heart. He's just misinformed, and he could also have malice in his heart. And so if you can understand what the other side needs, you can provide that in the debate context. And so maybe the next thing is a critique that the left that the left tends to levy is like, Oliver, like, you're never changing Andrew Wilson's mind, and Greg, you're not changing Michael Knowles' mind. And, like, it's useless to talk to these people because they're never going to change their mind. What do you guys make of that?
That's ridiculous. I mean, what do you think I'm trying to change Andrew Wilson's mind? Like, what? You expect me to perform miracles now? Like, no. Like, what do you think I would choose to fly out to Santa Barbara, California, to sit in a hot studio for 6 hours with no camera on and no one watching for any chance to change anyone's mind who's not in that room? No, of course not. I'm not delusional. I don't think I'm going to change his mind, nor do I don't know. So I don't know. I think that critique is, like, totally just unwarranted and doesn't realize that that's not the purpose whatsoever at all. The purpose is to change the mind and win over the audience, or at least just even some people. I mean, the goal of it really isn't to change anyone's mind on the spot. There's this kind of analogy that a teacher, and one of my teachers in high school actually said, and it really stuck with me, and it's the goal of, like, debates or even in conversations is you're never going to change someone's mind on the spot, or very rarely will you, because people don't like to have their mind changed. It feels like they're being defeated in some way. You know what I mean? It's a personal defeat. What you kind of want to do is you want to put a pebble in their shoe. I don't know if you guys have ever gone hiking. I know Cade's a big hiker or things like that. You ever get a pebble in your shoe? It just annoys you until you stop and deal with it. So in a sense, that's kind of what kind of debates and conversations can be. Just put a seed of doubt in someone's mind and just, like, have it nag at them until maybe they stop and deal with it. And that might be, weeks, months, even years down the line. And you're unfortunately probably not going to get to see the fruits of that seed blossom. But I think that that's kind of a better way to look at it than, like, you really think Andrew Wilson out of nowhere is going to be like, oh my God, I no longer hate women and want to subjugate them to these specific roles. Like, no, but that's not the goal. So, yeah.
If
Yeah,
I
I
can
mean,
jump back in before you, Greg, the one point on like debates is most times if there's ever an audience or you determine who won by first polling the audience at the start and then after, even if you have a fewer people on your side at the end, if you have increased the number of people on your side, you have won a debate in many academic settings where we're not changing all of the right wing's mind, to Oliver's point, or the person that we're talking to, but elections are decided by a few small percentage points. And so even if 90% of the right wingers that watch the content don't change their mind, that 10% is enough to save the country to win elections. Greg, did we change Jordan Peterson's mind?
no, I mean, the thing is, it's like, again, it's like first back to the original thing. This all of these things we're participating in are going to happen, whether or not we're there. And so, even if you think that we accomplished nothing and it's just kind of a wash, that is still preventing an alternate situation where somebody just makes a complete fool of themselves, and then the bad guy gets to cut a bunch of clips looking good. So that is one thing where, as much as I absolutely loathe Joe Biden, he has that quote where he's like, "Don't judge me, don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to the alternative." And it's like that's part of it. And then when you do a debate, you're performing a conversation for the audience. That's the point. It doesn't. You're not. When I was talking to Jordan Peterson with Cade, because Cade and I were in the now infamous Jordan Peterson Surrounded, which I think was the most disastrous Jubilee appearance for the featured famous person in the history of Jubilee. Because there's some Jubilee videos I think are often kind of like a Rorschach test, where it's like you look at it and you think that the person who you like won, but for Jordan Peterson, there's a bunch of like big right-wing media people being like, wow, like I think that, like they're talking about Jordan like a dog that needs to be put down or something. Like, man, like he's really, he's really done a lot for us, but it's time, maybe it's time to send him up to the farm upstate. Um,
They really pulled a
and
Democratic Party with Joe
yeah,
Biden.
yeah. And so it's like, well, yeah, who cares if we change Jordan Peterson's mind? Because clearly it has caused a non-trivial number of people to see Jordan Peterson in a newer, more negative light, which has diminished Jordan Peterson's ability to leverage this sort of quasi-intellectual professorial kind of aura he has to advance stupid things like climate change isn't real or trans care is bad. And there's an alternate universe where no one who was thoughtful or well informed enough to see any issues with the format agreed to go on. They got a bunch of like random atheists who didn't know what they were doing. And then Jordan Peterson gets a bunch of dunks. And then it's a great day for Jordan Peterson, right? So a lot of these things are complicated. And I have spent about half of my life at this point volunteering. It's something I'm very passionate about. Every week, I will volunteer at usually multiple days a week, I'll be volunteering somewhere for a few hours. And um, when you are doing that, I mean, your goal can be like, I want like one person to like get a little bit more excited or interested in something. And we have like, even on the main channel for Jubilee, we have over 5 million who have seen us, right? So like if I am willing to dedicate real time in my actual life to something to kind of maybe get one or two people to change their mind, then I'm definitely willing to show up for a video that's gonna get viewed 5 million times. Right? So it's like I think that people are kind of judging us against this ruler of like, well, you're not changing the whole world immediately. It's like that's kind of a lofty goal that I don't think any of us would profess to anyways.
Oh, whoa, Greg, whoa. Hey, you said volunteering, but you get a whole $50 every time you go on. Let's be real here,
Paid
all right? That's
operative.
pretty life
I can't
changing, all
confirm or
right?
deny. I can't confirm or deny, but
All right, yeah, you thought he was
definitely-
altruistic. $50, you might
definitely-
have gotten like a
yeah.
piece of lettuce in Los Angeles.
I definitely am not paying my mortgage with Jubilee money.
No, that's when the Soros money kicks in.
Well, it's crazy to think how many like NFL stadiums full of people have seen just one Jubilee debate. And I was talking to one of the
Yeah.
guys on our Surrounded episode who said that his close family member who doesn't follow religious conversations on the internet. For the first time, he was exposed to atheist arguments in his entire life by watching his son on Surrounded. And I think I agree with people's criticism of debate culture, where like in one appearance, you're not going to like get into every conceivable issue. And every conversation is not going to be exhaustive or do each topic justice. And that each debate itself is not going to win over everybody's hearts and minds. But that when somebody watches a debate, like you said, they get to see both sides of the conversation. Or it might be argument and counter argument. Or in a longer format, it might be argument, counter argument, rebuttal, and then rebuttal to the rebuttal. And somebody can walk away from an hour-long conversation having heard both sides, and that's like the diving off board. And I think, especially in our polarized news feeds, when you have X and then not X in the same episode is one of the few times that the other side is watching. And so for a glimmer of a second, you have the chance to reach somebody. You're not going to change their mind on the spot, but it is like, well, I thought all liberals were insert stereotype. And it's like, wait, that person was nice or like had coherent thoughts, or like the clips that they see of liberals are only what the conservatives post. So they're only going to be bad clips. But in these middle ground type of conversations, they get to see the other side on their own terms, which is a helpful thing. And you have millions of people, and these people aren't watching CNN. They're not watching MSNBC and then they're watching Jubilee. It's like they're watching the complete opposite and are starting to move towards the middle. It's kind of what this whole endeavor is about. And I've heard from some leftists that, well, if we unionize all of the left-wing people and we all collectively agree to never do debates, no debates will ever happen.
No,
like,
people, they'll just get random people because they love that. That's the thing. Again, look at what they want. Look at what, because I view these debates. I view as I am throwing a stick in the spokes of what the bad guy is trying to do. That is how I view it. It's like, okay, they have this goal, and I'm just going to try to mess with their ability to accomplish their goal. And look at one of the things they do is. Huge, like a whole huge genre of right-wing content is let's go to like a college campus or go to like Santa Monica Boulevard and just find like some random person and just make them look stupid. So no, they'll just run out of competent people. They won't run out of people. And the other thing, again, just looking at what the right wing values and what the right wing is trying to do as sort of instructive of what we should subvert, they spend a lot of effort making a caricature of us in terms of our interpersonal qualities, right? They want us to seem like these like angry, nasty, unpleasant, insert negative adjective here people. And when I have gone on Jubilee, I search my name in the comments because I'm insane, I guess. And there's a lot of people who are like, I completely disagree with Greg, but I'd love to grab a beer with him because he seems really nice. And that is valuable. That is, I don't think you can get somebody to even consider agreeing with you if they think you are just like a scumbag. Right. And I'm not blaming the left for people on the right viewing us as scumbags. Analysis is not justification, is not description, but descriptively, like the right has put in a lot of work into making us just seem like these like nasty, judgy people. And so, okay,
Some
the
of us
right
are.
really want.
Let's be so real.
Yeah,
I was gonna push back.
Yeah.
I'm like, some people on the left
But-
are fucking
but-
insufferable.
Specifically,
Okay.
all of us.
Like specifically me, I
there's
hear
a
my own
reason-
words and I'm like, I'm gonna become a reactionary fascist like right now.
Yeah, but it's just there's value to it. There's value to the idea of like because Cade, this is an anecdote I've mentioned before talking with Cade, but Cade has this friend who was in what she described to me as a cult. And in saying what she described to me as, I'm not trying to like throw down on it. I'm not adept. I'm taking her word for it. And she said that like she was taught that everyone outside of the cult was like really nasty. And when she met people who were like, I think you're in a cult, but like they were nice, it messed with her. And that was the sort of first crack in the wall between her and reality, where it was like, wait, I was told that all these people were terrible, maybe, and wait, but this person's like being nice to me, even though, they don't agree with me. And there is some value in sort of performing that charity for a large audience.
Well, in that specific story, the individual, she was flying to various states to just do door knocking for anti-legal abortion amendments in various states. So she was spending her time telling people to make abortion illegal. And then in the hot weather, she knocked on somebody's door and they completely disagreed with her, but they're like, "Oh, would you also like a glass of water? Like, it's hot out." And like her brain just did this double take, which is like, wait, like people on the left aren't these I love killing babies and secretly worship Satan in my basement type of people? Like, they would give me a water? Like, is enough for some of these people to change their mind? Oliver's shaking his head. Maybe he
There was adrenochrome in the water. There was adrenochrome. It was in the water.
True.
All right?
Adrenochrome
That's true.
and
It happened.
fluoride taking over.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so I think that encapsulates a lot of our thoughts on, like, is there value here, which is like they're going to happen regardless of what idealism you have, that people are going to be informed by them, that people in a small percentage are going to change their mind, and by allowing people on the left, if one of the kind of missions of somebody on the left is the debate, one of many different things on the left, they seem to be helpful. And I think the proof of that in a very concrete example is, like Greg said with the Jordan Peterson episode, by inviting incompetent people, by staying calm, by working as a team, by preparing, Jordan Peterson's career took a big hit. So moving into kind of the second half of this conversation here is that how do, or as the left, obviously because Oliver, Greg, and I run all of the entirety of the left and are secretly in charge of everything. What are the things that we can be doing to encourage more debaters? And for people who are looking to debate, what are some pieces of advice that we have for getting better? So let's actually start with specific advice for somebody who might be listening to this, that might be looking at considering being on a Jubilee episode. They're like, I don't know if I could do it. Oliver, what are some things that you would tell somebody if they're like, I think I might want to be on Jubilee to debate for left-wing causes?
Well, the first thing I think you should do is apply. You know what I mean? I'm not even kidding. Just, like, put your name out there. You know what I mean? Go to their site, see what they're casting. If anything is interesting to you, oh my God, we have a cat now. Greg, you've distracted me.
Cute.
Oh my God. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I think just in general, throw your name out there. You know, see if there's anything that interests you. I think specifically as well, like with the Jubilee, they're always doing different types of videos. So if there's something that you feel is like more of your niche and more of your interest, I feel like that's going to be, you know, obviously you're going to be more passionate about that. Like, I don't think people who are trying to get into debating, like, don't try to study every issue under the sun and become more, you know, well-versed in everything. If there's something you're already interested in, if you're already passionate about religion, if you're already passionate about abortion, if you're already passionate about gay marriage or the economy, if you're weird, I'm kidding, then, you know, focus on that. You know what I mean? Like, focus on those sorts of things, you know, figure out, you know, look into what people think that are differently than you. I think one of the best things to be confident in your position is look at the best opposing arguments. And if you feel like you can easily, or you can, you know, oh my God, I know why I don't believe this for X, Y, and Z reason. And that's a pretty good reason, one, that you're right, but also that, you know, you feel confident in your ability to rebut what other people are saying. I know there's sometimes can be a bit of, imposter syndrome of, oh my God, I'm not good enough. You don't realize how, like, ill-prepared the average person is. Like, the average person cannot name the 3 branches of government, and that includes Jim Bob. So, like, it is, it is like you're not that bad. Like, if you're looking into, like, actually getting into debating, you're already on the right track, and if you're already considering that, you're probably smarter and more equipped than a majority of people you'd be going up against in the layman's sense. So, I wouldn't be, like, scared by it whatsoever at all.
Greg, you always have good, there's a few talking points on my what is Greg going to answer with this question. There's like 2 or 3 things, and I'm going to hand the question to you, and I'm going to compare what you say to my list of things that I hope that you say when I secretly scripted this out in my head.
Got it. I'll try to maybe add a few more as well. So the first thing is, and this is probably on Oliver's list, on Cade's list, you have to know the wrong information. So when you're talking to these people, the debate format is inherently limited in many ways and suboptimal. One of the ways is you can't take a breather and look something up. So let's take something that's like super obvious. The Earth is round.
Whoa!
And-
Hey!
Yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
For
then
some
now,
people,
yeah. Now you
for certain
know.
people.
You know that it's you the listener watching this. You know that it's so obviously true. It's so
hopefully.
obviously true. There's not a shadow of a doubt. Everyone who you know knows it's true, but you're talking to somebody who's convinced it's false, and their audience of fans who are also convinced it's false. And so you say, well, it's obviously, round. And the other person, and I'm just making this up. They say, well, there is a Nobel Prize winning um, a mathematician who determined that the interactions of the diffraction gradients of the layers of the atmosphere actually warp the light to make it appear falsely that the Earth is curved. And also, there was this groundbreaking report from the FBI that was declassified that showed that there's this conspiracy. And you have to know that like the Nobel Prize winning guy is like has like treatment resistant schizophrenia and is institutionalized and has been saying all this stuff since the onset of his disease. And the FBI thing is completely mischaracterized and literally says the opposite. And if you don't know that, you're going to go, and now you're stumbling, defending this thing that is obvious. And now the other person can be like, see, they don't even know, what they're talking about. Another thing I would say is, in general, get advice. Like, 'cause there's sometimes when people do things and their friends and family love them and will just say they're great. Like a great example is music. Like someone will make music and like it won't be that good. And then everyone will be like, "Oh, it's so good, it's so amazing, it's so awesome." And nobody's like, "Hey, maybe get like a real microphone instead of recording it using your like laptop audio. Your laptop microphone." Like no one says that, right? Like you're gonna get a Grammy. Like find somebody who would tell you that the song you made sucks. Find somebody who you trust to be honest with you and get their opinion on like, do you think that I would do better than the average person? Because that is the bar, is are you improving the outcome versus if like the median person did this. I would say prepare very extensively. One thing I do is I put together a bunch of notes and I aggregate what other people have already said. I let a lot of people, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Other people have done a lot of work figuring out the counter arguments to this stuff already. I'll aggregate it, and then I use an AI tool from Google called Notebook LM that will literally make podcasts for you of anything you want. And I will make like a debate prep podcast and like listen to it while walking the dog. Like I incorporate the prep into my day, and it will end up being like a couple dozen hours of prep. But again, it's while I'm walking the dog, doing the dishes, commuting. So prepare really extensively. And then once you're there, be very disciplined. Um, like on Jubilee, for example, I have certain things that I know I'm prepared for. I know I can do decently on, and I'm okay not talking if the opportunity doesn't come up to, to talk about something that I'm strong in. I'm okay with that. Obviously, if it's a one-on-one debate, it's a little different. But if it's this kind of like Jubilee style debate, you can. There are people who show up and they're there and like, you know what? Maybe I just gonna be in the chair and just be watching and be in the background of the shot. The last thing I would say. Is this might be a new one as well, is don't try to railroad somebody into a gotcha. Because there are people who will go on to Jubilee specifically, and they will say something like, so are you A or B? And the idea is if you say A or B, now you're on the railroad tracks towards the gotcha. Then the person says, well, how do you mean B? Or they'll say, I've never really bothered to figure that out, but let me ask you a question. Or whatever, and now you're like, no, no, you can't say that. You have to no, answer my question.
Follow
this
my flow
way.
chart.
And
Follow my flow
yeah,
chart.
and then you're just dead in the water. And like you need to have very very strong fundamentals of like extensive preparation, and like you have to know exactly how you want to attack someone's argument. And then your goal is to just like not do terribly. like don't get too lofty. Don't get over. Don't fly too close to the sun.
Well, perfect. The one point that Greg missed that now I get to claim as my own point. So
Do
thank
it.
you, Greg. You got all of them. And then halfway through, I was like, wait, I can bring up a Greg point that he hasn't mentioned yet. And then I get points for a Greg point. Is that
Yeah.
like debates can be about whatever you want. Like these aren't
Yes.
depositions where you have to answer bad faith questions. And these aren't depositions where you have to only answer the thing. If you can semi answer the question or fully answer the question, whatever it is, and then go on the offense. Because if you spend your entire time just answering questions, you never get to actually posit something. And so if you can answer the question and then move things in the direction that you want to go, don't be backpedaling. Like you can,
Yeah.
what Greg has talked about with, he sat down and told Jordan Peterson something that was mildly related, but he got the points across. And with Oliver talking about like pragmatic concerns around all of these issues, like you can go on the attack. You can make somebody not look great by not letting them just ask questions the whole time, and you can dive into anecdotes.
Yeah.
In a
That
quick
said,
note on, yeah, what was that, Greg?
Oh, I was gonna give an example of that, but give the quick note first, so you don't forget it.
I was gonna say the quick note on personal experience is like you have to get it admitted to evidence in the right way and use it in the right context. Your personal experience, if you use it instead of data, it's going to look bad. But if you use your personal experience as a like instantiation of the existing data, it's going to be helpful. Or if your story directly rebuts a universal claim. So with Peterson on our debate talking about atheists reject God without knowing what they're rejecting, I went up there and didn't answer his question, but I threw my own story of starting to become a priest and like being more religious than him is a good time to use personal experience. But when somebody's citing a bullshit study to you, you can use your experience, but first rebut what they're saying because it's a bullshit study, and then provide the fact that your story is one of 100,000 out of whatever sample group. Like you can use your experience and your identity and your emotions, but only in the right context and in furtherance of existing goals. You can't, and also please in debates, never say, I don't care about data, I just care about my feelings. Very bad look. Very
do
bad
that.
look.
Yeah. So
Or fuck the
have-
logic or something like that. Don't
Yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do
So
that.
I'm a very old man in terms of Jubilee. I'm 30, and since I was like 14, I've been volunteering, like I said, and a lot of it's been like at like science museums.
It's not volunteering. You get $50, Greg. No, I'm kidding.
No, not these places. Not of the like the science museums and stuff. I get free
Oh,
tickets.
I meant
so maybe that's
Jubilee.
for something. Yeah. But so like here's how it works. Like I'm just gonna completely make this up. This isn't real. But like, let's say this butterfly here, right? Which I did literally just have there. I don't know what type of butterfly this is offhand, but let's say that this is like the endangered Congo butterfly. What I would do at the Science Museum is I would say, every year, this many acres of the Amazon rainforest and this many species, this many acres of the Amazon rainforest are being destroyed every year, and this many species are going extinct every year. And we're losing so much there. And I've given you the fact, like, for example, this is an example of all of the species that are going extinct. The like endangered blue butterfly or whatever, right? And here. Now you can look at this and you can get you can kind of grasp it better, right? But I'm contextualizing my point because if I say, this butterfly is going extinct, and another person says, well, this butterfly is not, they have a different butterfly, right? And they say, well, the whatever butterfly is thriving. Now we're just kind of having this contextless
Whatever
lightsaber
podcast,
battle.
butterfly.
At whatever in the back.
Yeah. So it's like if I say, if I say the vaquita, it's a very rare dolphin. If I say the vaquita is going extinct, and you say, well, there's millions of squirrels. Well, what does that mean, right? Now we have to ground our anecdotes. I think anecdotes are crucial because they help people grasp things. You have to ground your anecdote in factual context. When I'm like, and so that, yeah, I think that is sort of the 1-2 punch where it's like, hey, I am a gay guy and I have really had my life be improved by embracing my sexual orientation. And I have found that the only struggle I really have related to my sexual orientation is from other people being hateful and misunderstanding me. And that aligns with the guidelines from, every major like psychological and psychiatric association, which asserts that the best thing to do is to be accepting and affirming. And a lot of these problems that gay people experience are from hate and rejection, right? It's a 1-2 punch. And otherwise you set yourself up to again have this lightsaber battle. The same thing with studies. Like I can the right wingers will always have like a study memorized, and it's actually easier for them to do because there's so few studies that support them. And so, like, if I said climate change is real, the studies support it, and then they would like name a study, whereas they have like the three of them memorized, right? That's why you can say, like, oh, these professional organizations have this consensus. And do you have special secret information that the professional organizations don't have? Have an example, ground it in context.
And I think on that note, or what you had said earlier, Greg, is that your goal going into these is to stay boring until you have a really good moment where there's a ceiling to how well you can do, and there's absolutely no basement or no floor for how poorly you can do. And so if you just take up space on that episode and the right doesn't get clips of somebody walking into a logic trap, like, you won. And you're not going to be famous on the internet. You're not going to be crowned, and people aren't going to like throw rose petals as you go to like the local Walmart. But you having the spot of somebody that might have gotten clipped is a good thing. And in debates, if you reach out to overextend yourself too early or on the wrong things or walk directly into traps, you've set yourself up to failure. So if you can stay calm, if you can wait for the moment where they're walking themselves into a trap and you can label it, or you stay calm until they hit like an area of your expertise, like, you can't go guns blazing. You have to kind of like slow roll it and find the point at which you can strike out. And another big thing in these conversations is managing emotions beforehand, during, afterwards. Oliver, what advice do you have for somebody they've signed up 2 months from now for a big debate? What's going to happen as they get closer to the debate? What is that emotional experience going to be during the debate? And how should they stay sane after that debate?
Good questions. I mean, all of it is obviously context dependent on what the debate is, how it's structured, and who you're debating. If you get familiar enough with who you're debating, assuming they don't completely have a realization the night before and decide to completely switch everything up, you're going to have some understanding of the strategy they're going to take. So, for example, if you're debating someone like Andrew Wilson, who's notoriously bad faith and does everything he can to rile you up and get those like clips, you know how to walk into that. And basically all you have to do in a lot of those situations is just not get emotional. And it sometimes can be difficult because, sometimes all you want to do is reach across the table and shake them because it's like, how are you know what I mean? Like, this is like so incredibly obviously like bad faith. But obviously that's just going to put you in a bad position because the last thing you want to do, especially as someone on the left, is play into this narrative that the left is like so emotional and, that is feelings driven. So now, this is not to say that you can't get passionate. I think passion can be good in certain scenarios. I would just always say, try to never be the first person to lose your cool, if that makes sense. So if you're in a debate and, someone like starts like yelling at you or something, you can, respond however you'd like. If you just don't even want to get involved in that, that's fine. But, if they set that, if they set that standard, you responding in kind doesn't really reflect that poorly on you because you're just matching their level of energy or something like that. So, emotions can run high, especially if it's someone who's trying to poke your emotions to get that response out of you, because that's what their audience loves to see, is the liberal feminist meltdown when presented with facts and logic. So, I don't know. I think there's kind of this misnomer within debates that like emotion is frowned upon, or like, emotional appeals or things like that are frowned upon. I think they definitely aren't. And I think that there are times to be passionate and there's times to, really, show that you're passionate about something, but it should never be obviously at the expense of, oh, I don't have any studies, but anyway, here's a really emotional story about my friend who this happened to, and this is why you should care about that. Because that doesn't go over well. So I think it can be paired well. It can be paired nicely. It just really depends. It really depends on how you do it. And yeah, I don't know. You could have a family member or something. You know what I mean? Here's some of their talking points. Can you like read them off to me and like try to piss me off? You know what I mean? And you know,
When
see what I can do.
Your brain has a limited capacity. It's like if you're trying to move, your car has a set amount of space in it. And emotions before the debate and during the debate, if you fill up your brain and it is all emotional, like the logic and thinking and critical thinking part of your brain has a lot less space to operate. And what's happening is that like your fight or flight response is kicking in, which is, I've always felt during debates, like your mind kind of gets fuzzy. It doesn't feel as sharp. You can't think as fast on your feet because of the emotions. And then versus when you watch clips on YouTube, you're like, oh, I could have said that. I could have said this other thing. Like if I was in that situation, I would say this. But it's like in the middle of a debate, your brain's not firing on all cylinders, but it's like you're running a 2-cylinder engine out of like a 6-cylinder. And what I've found for the few debates that I've done is that like once it's on the calendar, it doesn't really feel real until like a month out. But then that month leading up, you keep like thinking about the debate, not in this like de-stress type of way where it's like everything's going to die, but your body's recognizing like 10 million people is like a threat to your existential survival is what your reptile brain is doing. And so you got to turn it into like hyper focus where you got to turn the worry and the brain space into like into preparation. And then like that week leading up, I swear I don't get any work done. And it's just like I'm only thinking about this and thinking of, have I watched this video? How would I respond to this argument? And like flow charting and preparing. And then the actual day of the debate, it's like you show up and everything that you cram studied kind of goes out of the window and you're relying on instincts and what you've actually learned, and nothing else in the world happens during those 2 hours. Like every concern about the world is gone. All you are doing is locked into this person who you're talking to. Your brain is firing on all cylinders. You're trying to roll with the punches. And then afterwards, I've had the experience where like it takes me a while to remember what I said and like try to recombine all of the memories like back into my head. And then once it's done, like you just got to breathe because there's nothing you can do to influence when it's posted or how it's posted or the public reaction. Like you got to take a fucking nap after the actual debate and like stop thinking about the debates until it launches.
Yeah.
Greg, what has been your emotional experience of the debates and how do you manage those emotions to have the best debate performance?
So one thing about me is I have, in certain ways, I do have sort of a muted emotional response to fear. And this is just something about me. It's I also sort of I'm also attracted to extreme experiences. So being attracted to extreme experiences and kind of having like a blunted response to like fear and adrenaline. When I was a kid, I was a massive adrenaline junkie. I did like extreme sports. I'll go to these haunted houses in Los Angeles, in the Los Angeles area, which is where I live, which is part of why I'm on Jubilee, by the way, because it's like a 30-minute drive. Um, to be on set. They will have haunted houses around here that are made by like motion picture studios and are like they get like it's like a film set, and I'll go at 1 in the morning by myself because I want to be the only person in there. And then I don't get scared. Like someone will like jump out and I'll be like, oh, like hi, I love like the costume. Like so like I don't get scared in haunted houses. I don't get scared of scary movies. So like I already have this kind of very muted anxiety response to a lot of things, not everything. Like for school I have kind of too much anxiety, but like for like social stuff, extreme stuff, I don't feel a lot of that emotion and I kind of like it. But when I think the Michael Knowles example in the debate is perfect because one thing there are people who have been dunking on the Michael Knowles. Me and Cade met. We did Surrounded versus this guy named Michael Knowles, and the cast wasn't really given the same heads up about like what the topics were going to be and stuff. As for example, we were with the Peterson one, and it was a lot of people who were being told like like these are people who are extremely vulnerable in society, and someone is telling them to their face like horrific statements about them. And it's a lot easier to like debate Jordan Peterson on what a word means than it is to be in a marginalized group and then have someone telling you to your face like you should be eradicated, right? So to a certain extent, it depends on, who you are and what your relation is to what's being discussed. But like when I was talking to Michael Knowles, um, my goal is to interfere with what they want. And sometimes that like in the Peterson one, that seems to have led to a victory. But my goal is I'm on the defense. It's like you are trying to accomplish something, and I'm not going to give you what you want. And one of the things I felt Michael Knowles doing was trying to get me upset. Like he at one point he was like he was talking about like surrogacy, which is how a lot of gay couples have kids, and he was like, you want to go to the baby store and buy a baby from the baby store. You're married, and he was telling me my marriage wasn't real. He was saying all this stuff, and it's like, I know what you're trying to do, Michael Knowles. You want me to yelp. You want me to get upset. You want me to get angry. So I am actually emotional in a way in that I'm trying to go F you in this moment. But the way I'm going F you is by not giving you what you want. And so that is one thing that helps me in these debates is realizing I'm giving this person what they want if I get really emotional, and I'm preventing them from getting what they want if I don't get really emotional. Another thing I do is I kind of like method act a little bit, because I have calculated out that people won't understand why it is that I have the feelings I have towards the people you meet on somewhere like Jubilee. Because in real life, if I meet somebody who has been kind of brainwashed by, like conservative media, it's like, okay, I believe in the brainwashing machine, and thus I need to at least find out whether or not you're in fact just a victim of the brainwashing machine instead of a bad person. So I will be very nice and warm to people who think crazy stuff. But when you are on like Jubilee, for example, you're often meeting the people who run the brainwashing machine. Like, and so it's a little different. But I don't know if the audience is going to understand why if I kind of just act really nasty, and I know that that's what they want. I know that the conservative wants to victimize themselves, right? And so I trick myself into thinking I like the person. And it's like that famous actor who played Abe Lincoln. I forget his name, Daniel Day-Lewis, and like he was like he like saw the Uber to take him back to his hotel. He's like, what is this? Horseless buggy, right? Like he was just fully committed to the bit. I fully commit to the bit of just convincing myself I like whoever I'm talking to while I'm there, and that helps me as well. But yeah, I would say the biggest thing is just don't get nervous about getting nervous, right? Don't have compounding emotions. You're gonna be nervous. You're gonna mess up, um, and that's okay. And then remember that the other person is trying to get an emotional reaction out of you.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a couple things I would want to add there. One of them is it definitely can feel personal, and I'm not saying you shouldn't like take like if someone's saying like gay marriage isn't real and you're a gay person, I'm not saying don't get offended. They're not really talking like at you. That's stupid. But like at the same time, they also aren't, if that makes sense. Like they would say this to any person who's sitting in that chair right now. You just happen to be the representation of what they're against. And also, like I don't know, it's if you are confident, in which I think you should probably if you're talking with these people, that these people are wrong, that these people are misguided, that they have the wrong beliefs, then they're not really mad at you, or they're not really trying to, go after you. They're going after a caricature. They're going after a version that's not actually real. So in a sense, just realize that they're not really trying to get you specifically. They're just going after what they view as. I'm not saying they're not wrong, and I'm not saying it's not harmful, but like anyone else who is sitting in that chair saying the same things that you were, they would go after you.
I mean, the one little bit of pushback again is there. So much of this is contingent on the topic being discussed and your relationship to it. Where, like, for example, when Michael Knowles was saying, gay marriage isn't real, I'm very confident that the conservative movement, at least in the United States, is not going to be able to move the Overton window to the point where they get at gay marriage. I know that gay marriage is respected by the Respect for Marriage Act, like, so it's a little bit less threatening. Whereas, like, if you're a trans person and the Trump administration is currently actively, successfully eroding access to your care, and this is a real thing that's happening to you in the real world currently, and then this person's like, that's good and we should do it more. Like, it's going to be harder, but I'd say that's a good aspiration to have, of trying. If your goal is to stay calm, that does seem useful, to remind yourself that, like, this person doesn't really know anything about you. I do think, in terms of the reality of the discussion, it might honestly just be too personal to keep your cool. And that's not always bad either. Like, there's this guy, Shane. He's this trans guy who was in the Ben Shapiro Surrounded, and he just completely dressed down Ben Shapiro. And it was like an amazing moment that went viral and emasculated Ben Shapiro. And that doesn't really, that's kind of the exception to this rule of don't get emotional, but he did a great job. He scolded Ben like a disappointed father scolding his kid, and he was like physically larger too, like he was just like hunched over him, like, and Ben was like, well, and it's just like, so, there, all these are general guidelines, not hard rules.
What emotions are like for your 5th or 10th debate. Like your first debate, if you're going on Jubilee for the first time, don't expect to be made into those TikTok edits where a conservative just got owned. It's probably not going to play out that way. You getting emotional and scolding somebody, there's great clips of, like you said, Greg, out there of that, but that's probably not going to be something you can pull off at your first debate. Like if you can go in and stay calm and wait, like debate is a sport, which means that it requires practice. And so after your first debate, like you just have to start. And as long as you stay calm, and even if you stay boring, like that's a win. So like make that your first debate. And then you're going to go, I could have said that. Maybe I was able to say that. And I remember the emotions on my first debate versus my second debate on Jubilee, wildly different. Like the Peterson episode, I was way less nervous for. And now when I do a lot of these contentious debates, like your body knows how to respond. You know more about oration. Like, when am I going to look bad? When am I going to look good by interrupting? Like, should I bring up this? Or, like, should I change the topic? Like, when do I dodge a question or when do I not dodge a question? Like, it's a sport that you iterate and that you practice for. And so if you can start slow and get your first few debates under your belt, you're going to start finding your style. You're going to start figuring out your expertise. You're going to start figuring out, like, wait, I shouldn't have done that, or maybe I should update this. Like, it is something that you get better at. And so don't expect your first debate. Like, I thought with my Michael Knowles debate, I was going to be, like, famous after that one. And then I realized that, like, oh, it's a first debate. I was not super memorable, but I built connections. And I listened to that and then got on more debates and then got on Peterson and did better on Peterson. I still didn't wipe the floor with Peterson. Like, that's not going to happen for a very long time, like wiping the floor. But it takes those iterations. And so both be gentle with yourself, also recognize the responsibility, and then just grow, because it's not like on every Jubilee episode they have a roster of 500 professional left-wing debaters that you're stealing a spot from. Like, the community isn't that big, so you getting in and practicing is a good thing.
And in terms of calling it a sport, one thing Cade and I have talked about, like off camera, is it's an extreme sport. Jubilee has invented an extreme sport. And how do you like in that framing of an extreme sport? How do you practice jumping out of a plane? Right? Like, how do you prepare yourself for the emotions of jumping out of a plane and skydiving? You can't. You just have to do it. And so, to a certain extent, like a lot of the stuff you not only can prepare for, but it's absolutely necessary that you prepare for. But like the adrenaline and your blood pumping in your ears, and like that is something that you kind of have to experience. And then for me, every time I'm there, like, and I do it, I still feel the same amount of my heart beating, like really really hard, but I notice every time it takes less time for me to calm down. Like, the first time my heart was beating through my chest the entire time. The second time I was on Jubilee, after like maybe like a minute, I calmed down. And then the third time with Jordan Peterson, I would say that after about maybe 1 minute of talking with him, I wasn't thinking about the crowd. I wasn't thinking about the cameras. I was just having a conversation with somebody. So there is sort of a desensitization that happens.
And so we've gone through maybe why debate is important and that the left should be, or that with debate it can be a helpful tool. We've talked a little bit about how we go about preparing for a debate, and if somebody's watching, like, just apply. Also, if you're looking at applying, feel free to DM myself or Greg. Oliver, a little bit more famous than us, so maybe he'll respond. Actually. But, like, talk to somebody. If you're looking at go down Jubilee, like, reach out to somebody that's been on before. And maybe the final note to end on here is how to leverage debates for your own career. And so on a hand, for Oliver, you've done a great job with using these debates, not as just like go on and then they just kind of like go off into the wind.
That's me.
Utilizing things. Yeah, that's like Greg. Greg's starting to post. I'm in between where I did a video 2 weeks before the Peterson debate came out, and then I just retitled it. And apart from that, I haven't done anything. But Oliver, you've been doing a great job of leveraging these for your own career, because you're not donating your time to the whatever podcast in Jubilee because you love those organizations and just want to help provide for them. Tell people how they can leverage debates to help grow their own career in the process.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, the media ecosystem is not designed for long form debates, if that makes sense. So, like, people aren't going to want to sit down and watch largely a 6-hour debate. Most people aren't. And I think part of that is also what makes it, like, not as nerve-wracking of, oh my god, they asked me a question and I didn't give the most satisfactory answer to every single one. It's like, that's fine, because most people probably aren't going to see that, and even if they do, like, just, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But I have found that it can be very helpful to post clips from that debate, because what it can do is definitely bring more people to your platform, but it can also get people to watch those debates. I find it to be helpful as well, because building that kind of community opens up other opportunities. So different people have reached out to me, different organizations have reached out to me. You don't realize until you actually start doing it how many doors open up, because how I got on the whatever podcast was from my Jubilee experience. From the whatever podcast, I got reached out to from this other organization that I had a Zoom call from. Posting clips about it, I had different people reach out. So, like, I guess, like, the more you're posting about it and kind of that sort of thing, the more, one, it kind of can expose these ideas. So, for example, like, if we're talking about the Andrew Wilson thing, like, my clips with him on there where he's defending, like, there being nothing wrong with, like, someone who's 41. I'm still doubtful that he's 41, rough 41 for sure. Dating 18-year-olds, that sort of thing is totally fine. Like, that is now millions of people who have hopefully been somewhat inoculated against Andrew Wilson, or at least maybe if they've seen a clip like that, if another clip from the whatever podcast pops up on their feed and, you know, maybe they're just kind of on the fence, they might think, oh my gosh, oh, well, that guy's saying some stuff, maybe I'm sympathetic to it, but wasn't that guy that was, like, saying that there's nothing wrong with 41-year-olds dating 18-year-olds and saying that there might be some redeeming things about SA, like, maybe I should be a little bit more wary about that. So I think that can be the value in it. In terms of, like, editing clips and stuff, there's some pretty good things out there. I use something called Opus Clips, OPUS. It's pretty great. You can, it does cost a bit of money, but I actually find that it's pretty economical. Is my debate with Wilson, I think it was like only like $30 to edit 6 hours of content into that sort of thing, and you can go in and manually edit those things. But it just turns it into nice vertical content with titles or subtitles that you can fix. But yeah, figuring out what content does well and that sort of thing. It's definitely a practice sort of thing. You figure it out as you post.
One thing I wanted to add, so I have kind of had a number of bizarre experiences in my life, including, it's right now it's Jubilee. Jubilee was a result of me being on the Mr. Beast reality competition show. And one thing I have found is when you have an emotionally intense, extremely unusual experience with other people, you very quickly form a genuine connection with them, because you want to talk about this crazy thing you're going through or have gone through with other people who get it. And so you will, if you're just kind of like a reasonably sociable person, and you just, you don't like deliberately avoid talking to people, you will create a community of friends from doing this stuff just naturally, not even as like a networking, like calculated thing. You will just naturally form friendships, especially because for the most part, these people who cast for these things, they're trying to find interesting people. And so you are in a room of like a curated room of interesting people whenever you do one of these, and then you all share a crazy experience, and you can talk once you do one of these things. You can talk with your friends about what you should do. Usually a group chat will pop up with the cast of whoever you were in an episode with, if you're on a Jubilee thing, and use those people as a resource. Use them as a resource to get advice on this sort of thing. Use them as a resource, and you can collaborate on each other's content. For example, anyone I meet who I was in a Jubilee thing with, I just make myself like freely available to go on their content. Um, and also you can get advice. You can strategize. You can say, hey, I have this debate coming up in 3 weeks. Who do you think it might be? What should I say? What's something I could do to improve my performance from this last one? And it's just lean in on that, right? And that's also kind of a fun thing about doing all this is you meet interesting people and you get some interesting friends from doing it.
And I think that's a great point on building a network of people from the episode where going on Jubilee or big debate platform, you're not going to be famous to the general public immediately. But after the Knowles episode, I made a number of connections with people in the field and have had new and interesting opportunities pop up. And after the Peterson episode, I've talked to more people in the space. And it's not this like, oh, yay, I can't wait to get people's numbers and then like trick them into like stealing their audiences. It's just that like the left-wing debate space is not a huge thing. Like
It's a small club.
It's a small club. And you want to play nice with people in the playground. And so having contacts, and if there's ever a misunderstanding when somebody says something, like it's so much easier if you've built rapport and you can text somebody. Or if you're helping somebody prep for a debate, right? Like there's people that have watched way too much of other right-wing people. And so to say, I'm going to debate this person, let me talk to somebody who's watched way too much of that person for advice,
Right.
or to run mock debates. And also when these debates come out, you will get a lot of comments and a lot of people criticizing you for your looks. And there's going to be people saying that you look amazing. There's going to be people that hate you and might send death threats. And there's going to be people that love you. And like to have people that it's hard to talk to people who haven't experienced that, like for advice, versus to talk to somebody like Oliver, who's received a ton of hate, like to be like, oh yeah, like everything's fine. Like they're not going to show up to your house and like kidnap your family.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Or talk to the FBI or talk to Greg about like, well, do I read comments? Do I not read comments? Like, how do I react?
Yeah.
I was super grateful. I did a watch party with friends that I care about for each of the Jubilee drops. So I wasn't like alone trying to figure out if I did well. Like I had somebody around me, and luckily neither of them crashed and I haven't received too much hate, but just consider, can you watch it when it comes out with somebody that can be there for you?
Yeah. And I mean, one thing that I have thought about is whoever you are watching this, there are hopefully some people in the world who you look up to, right? I'll give you an example. I think, Barack Obama, I am to the left of him. I disagree with some things he did during his presidency. I think he's a really great guy. And there are people online who will say the most horrific things about him. Some of my favorite left-wing commentators. I'm a big fan of Hassan Piker, huge Hassan Piker fan. People say some of the worst stuff imaginable about him. There are celebrity, like there's so many people where it's like, whoever you look up to, whoever you aspire to be, whoever those people are for you, where it's like, wow, I think they're really great. They have a bunch of people online saying they're stupid, saying they're ugly, saying they're this, saying they're that. And so it's kind of an honor to join the ranks of that's how I think about it. Join the ranks of these people, of my favorite people in the world who get all this trash talk. And that's how I contextualize it for me, myself at least. And not to equate myself to Barack Obama. But you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, come
It's
on,
a nice
Greg.
little
You're not
thing
a
to
war
tell-
criminal. You're not
Yeah,
as cool as him.
yeah.
Okay.
It's a nice little thing. It's in a very kind of cutesy, not too deep, not too serious way. It's just a way to remind yourself that, if these incredible, famous, impressive people who you adore can't escape these comments calling them stupid and ugly and fat and messed up and bad points, and
that means no one can escape it. That means that that means there's no way to be attractive enough or smart enough or perform well enough to avoid like some guy in his basement writing something mean about you. It's going to happen, and you shouldn't view it as a reflection on the whatever it is that they're attacking.
Of course, and these people as well. If you think about it, like if you're not pissing them off, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like if I get hate comments
Yeah.
from like conservatives, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm living rent free in your head, and you feel really threatened by what I'm saying. Thank you. You know what I mean? If I like have a debate or something, and there aren't people saying, "Oh God, I can't stand the way he talks. I can't stand the questions he asks." It's like, I must have been not doing something right. So like you're gonna get hate
Yeah.
comments, and all that means is that you got through to some people, or you really are making someone think. You're really frustrating someone, and in a sense, good on you for that. And that's there. As Greg so beautifully stated, there are people who hate every single person. Everyone out
Yeah.
there, you know what I mean? Just it is inevitable that you will piss some group of people off, and it's impossible to make everyone happy. And if you're making some people unhappy, especially if those people have pretty abhorrent beliefs, you're probably doing something right.
But they'll never go on a Jubilee episode. Or all
Yeah.
the shit talkers, they're so loud in the comments. And then you go, do you want to tell me more? Do you want to come on an episode? Do you want to do a debate? And they magically shut up. Like, people in comment sections are shit talkers. And so, then if I can read Greg's mind right now, what I think he's about to say is that, yes, hate comments can be a sign that you're doing something right. But hate comments can also be legitimate, where if you go into a show and everybody hates you, might be a sign you want to talk to a family member about, like, did I do well or did I just do really bad?
Sure, fair enough. Fine.
I was actually going to say something else. I mean, first of all, just because nobody can escape getting a whole bunch of hate comments. Sometimes the hate comments have a point. Definitely.
You want to elaborate on that, Greg? Are you saying that about me? No, kidding.
No. That's
Yeah, Oliver. Sometimes you need to shut the fuck up, is what he's
Insult
saying.
you,
You know what I mean?
Oliver.
Yeah, I know.
I'm happy. I'm happy with that level of fidelity for that answer. But also, like, I was gonna say, Cade told me about this really funny thing, which is on YouTube. There's this button you can push where it's like hide from channel. So basically, they don't know that they're blocked, but it just puts them in this like existential nightmare where it's like they're a ghost and they're commenting, but no one can see them. And so there's been a couple of people on my YouTube channel, which I'm really not trying to grow at all. Like I'm like, it's probably so frustrating. So many people would like cut an arm and a leg off here in LA to like be in a viral video. And I'm like in the viral video, and I'm like, I'll just put out one YouTube thing and just like disable the comments on it. I am slowly warming up to like interacting with the internet world. And there's been a couple people who've just been really nasty, and I've just done that. I just clicked the thing where it's like, you don't know you're invisible now, and now you're just endlessly like fighting yourself and
Yeah.
hoping I see this thing that no one sees, and you don't even know that no one sees it, and it's like that's a fun option.
What's the guy? One of the guys that I hit on my channel writes multiple paragraph long, multiple comments on each of my YouTube videos, and so I hit him from channel, and I was on somebody else's live stream, and he's like, "Cade, I've been leaving really long rebuttals to every single one of your videos," and I just kind of like, you trapped yourself on a hamster wheel, like you are running in
Yeah.
circles, sucking hours of your life out, and I couldn't even see them. Like, it's not like it just hides them. It's that as a channel owner, I literally have no way of looking at what he said in any context. He is the only person in the world that is reading his own comments, that he's spending
Amazing.
hours away from his wife and kids to write hate comments that are very, very long. And so maybe an ending note is that, like, all of this is real, and your reptile brain is going to go, 20 million people out there, and there are so many people that are going to hate me. And two things is, one, like, don't give the haters time of day. Like, don't respond to every single hater. And whoever you debated, they're probably going to reach out to debate again. It's like, if you've hashed out the issue, like, at a certain point, you do have to walk away from a debate. And especially the work that I do in religion, Like, we could do 12-hour live streams on every single issue, and I'm like, an hour kind of covers the bases, and we can do another debate on a different topic, but I'm not going to rehash the same thing over and over and over again, and I'm not going to respond to hate comments. But also, remember to touch grass. Like, this week with the Jordan Peterson episode, between the main video and clips of it and reaction videos, has been seen 10 to 20 million times, which to the reptile brain, that's like a dozen or more NFL stadiums full of people that have seen my face. And so the reptile brain is like, oh shit, like this matters. And like, I've been watching reaction videos from all these people that I've watched for years, and there's hate comments and there's love comments, like all of these things. And then like, I talk to my friends and my family, and they don't even know who Jordan Peterson is.
Yeah.
Like 20 million people is a lot of people, and like, it's important, and like, we're changing hearts and minds.
It's also not
like,
people though. It's views.
Yeah,
It's like it's actually going to be a decent amount less in terms of actual unique viewers, other than people who either watch multiple times or stuff like that. Not that it changes
Can I ask-
everything, but like.
I'm using my phone here. I don't have my laptop. And can I ask one of you guys, and seriously ask you to do this? Could you divide 10 million into 8 billion?
10 million.
Or sorry, the other way. The other way. Divide 8 billion by 10 million.
I feel like the point is here. It's a very small number out of the total
I just
world
want to know,
population.
like,
People who have
yeah,
seen
like it's
the
one
video.
in one in something, right?
Well, somebody's doing the math. The wacky ass story. I was just recording a podcast today.
Well, someone's doing the math. I thought Cade was doing the math.
I have a marketing brain, Oliver.
It was really funny because you turned away to your computer and you were typing. Like, okay, by the way, while someone else does the math.
My calculator wasn't putting commas in there, and so I gave up on counting zeros after the 8.
Let me see. Do I have a calculator?
But
what did you
so
say?
I was
What,
just
20
doing a podcast.
million?
20
I want to
million.
find out. I want to find out what 10 million views out of 8 billion people is. That's
can do
one
it.
in how many
10.
people? One in how many people have viewed it? Like
10 divided by 8.
Like how many people? How many people have to be in a room until one of them have seen the video? If you know what I mean? That's what.
Oh, I
I'm
know
trying
what
to
you
say.
mean. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Okay. So then if we do that times 100, what percentage of the... Yeah, it's like... I mean, if you do it the division, it's like 0.00125. So like...
0.001. Yeah, so that's like...
probably like... Yeah.
So yeah, 1% would be 1 in 100, and then that's 1,000. That's like what, like
10,000?
like 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 100,000, or it's something huge. It's something ridiculous. So like, yeah, when you go out into the real world, no one's going to be like, "Are you the guy?" I've had one person come up to me and say, "Hey, were you in a debate video?" Literally, it. I've been in 4 of these. And I live in a really populated area. I spend a lot of time around where there's a ton of people. I've had like one person come up to me. So like it's this weird thing where it's like it's like being called up on stage at a show where it's like, oh, like I went to see Green Day at Coachella and they invited me up to like play the guitar for American Idiot. Like, yeah, a bunch of people saw it, but like no one's gonna come up to you at the grocery store and be like, "Were you the person playing guitar on stage?" You know what I mean?
I did
you're still
I
just a
asked
regular
ChatGPT.
person.
I asked ChatGPT, and it's doing a bunch of logarithms, which I don't fucking remember, and that's giving me fight or flight from junior year high school. But it did like you need whatever it said. You need about 554 people in a room before there's greater than a 50% chance that at least one of them has seen part of the video.
Right. Yeah. So it's you're still. That's the thing about the internet in 2025 is something can have millions and millions of views, but you will like never meet somebody in real life who has seen it. And that's sort of the interesting dichotomy. Like I was talking with Cade about that because the Peterson one, the Peterson one is nowhere near the biggest video on Jubilee's channel in terms of the metrics on the channel, but it broke out in a way where like people are talking about it all over the world. It's on the news, it's on the other things. It's like it feels like the whole world's talking about you. Then like you go walk your dog or go to work or whatever, and it's like, oh, like I'm just still some random guy. No one knows who I am.
And so definitely build your career with debates. But also, if you're talking about your Jubilee performance from a year ago and you start a podcast related to just the one time you were on Jubilee, like work these things to your advantage. And then at a certain point, you can't have this ego complex around like, Well, actually, last year I was the 8th person to talk on a Jubilee video. Like, milk it, and then once the milk's gone, like, you gotta stop milking the thing, and
Okay.
you can't like let it get to your brain.
I'm
There's
still
something I
getting
wanna say
marriage.
so
I'm
badly.
still getting marriage proposals from my original performance on Jubilee. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's something I want to say really badly. I feel like we're deep. I feel like the chances of I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I feel like the chances of
No,
anyone.
do it.
I feel like the chances of anyone I'm talking about ever hearing this
Oh my
um,
God, soft
so
lefty. Oh my gosh,
is so
soft
low.
woke
It's
liberal.
probably okay. Okay, so I was on the Mr. Beast games, and it's a big show. I think 50 million peak viewership per episode. I was in the kind of pilot episode that they uploaded to YouTube. I think it easily has over 100 million views. Last time I checked, I think it was like 130 million views. There were people who were on that who, like me, were just kind of in the background. Like you can kind of play Where's Waldo and pause it and like, oh, there's a blurry guy. And that thing, I think it came out in like October or November. It's easily been half a year since then, and there are people who are still to this day trying to convert their appearance on it into like a media career. And it's like I sympathize because it is so hard to break into these industries, and maybe you could have that 15 seconds of fame convert into something, and some people do. But I think sometimes people, especially like if their kind of social media algorithm like serves them a bunch of like kind of like inspirational content a little bit too much. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it's like and so there are people who will be convinced that like it's like step one, be in a viral video for 2 seconds. Step two, question mark. Step three, like international
World domination.
fame. Yeah, and that
Feel
and
the
that
moon.
and that
Exactly.
loops back to that loops back to our earlier point about these videos are never going to stop being made because there's a bunch of people who have really convinced themselves that if they are in a viral video, well, then I'll make content about being in the video, and then people will watch the content, and then I'll get to be in other ones, and then and it's like they have this like business plan for themselves that starts with being on screen for 2 seconds. And so yeah, the videos are not going to like an organized boycott among leftists of these things. It's not going to stop it. But don't be that person. Don't be that person where you were in something 6 months ago and you're still talking about it every day. Like I'm sorry. Like it's just it's someone who loves you and cares about you should tell you that if they don't.
Still got a few more months, right, Greg? I still got a few more months, right, Greg? Okay.
You can keep milking it.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. As long as I'm still getting hate comments, I got one 5 hours ago on the original video. I was just looking. So this guy Oliver's so annoying. I cannot stand him or people like him. SMH. Sorry.
So this is all to say that like
That was my
debates
comment. Sorry.
are-
Oh
No, I
shoot!
like
I didn't
that.
know that was you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Is it your
I
burner
was
This
account,
makes
jealous.
sense now.
Yeah.
Yo, I can't believe your burner account looks like the most like mediocre white man I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
Pasty white dude,
sunglasses
facial
and
hair,
receding hairline with a visor.
almost.
That's
Yeah.
Greg's alt account.
Sorry.
But he's in nature. He had to convince us that he left his mom's basement just to take the photo.
Yeah.
This is all to say that like debates are going to happen. So as the left, let's have the best possible performance to marginally change minds. And then all of this matters and you can build a career. And then at the end of the day, go touch some grass. All of this matters. And then you start talking to the average person and like my family doesn't know who Jordan Peterson is, let alone his most recent Jubilee episode, let alone the reactions on this crazy niche in the internet to it. It's like so many layers down. Still at the same time, take privacy seriously. Like I've had to take all of my work phone numbers off of the internet because I have too many people calling me.
Yeah.
And like, don't be dumb and be careful when some hot person to whom you're attracted starts snapping you and they seem to not speak your mother tongue well and they're begging for things. Like take security.
There's never a Nigerian prince. Okay, they're out
Yeah.
of them. There's no more.
Nobody
You know what
wants
happened-
to give you money.
You know what happened to me once that was very funny?
I got a scam phone. I got a scam text from someone, and they had like the most like grandma name ever. Like this is like Gertrude and blah blah blah. And I had seen this thing online where this lady had accidentally texted this random guy for Thanksgiving, and they became friends, and they have Thanksgiving every year. And I thought it was like an old lady who didn't know how to use her phone. I was like, oh my God, like this is going to be my version of that. I'm going to get a new friend who's this old lady. And then we were texting a bunch, and everyone was like, it's a scam. And I was like, no, it's a nice old lady. And then she sent me a photo of herself, and it was like a swimsuit model. And I was so sad. And I was like, no, like I even told them, I gave them tips for scamming me next time. I was like, send me like a grandma, like make pretend to be like a nice old grandma, and then you'll get me. And I want to like help you move things around your house for you. But no, yeah, I before the stuff before the first Jubilee came out for me, I locked all my stuff down. I'm now at the point because I'm kind of like part of like the revolving cast of people who are in these things regularly. I actually pay for a service that monitors the internet for like any information about me and like submits takedown requests for it. Um, it's not that expensive. It's like the same. It's like you're paying for Netflix, but yeah, you protect yourself because even though the average person doesn't know who you are, there's a couple really weird people who do.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you know it. And if you try hard enough, you can become a master debater. And who doesn't like master debating? I love master debating.
It's a hobby of sorts.
It is.
And
you know? You can even
the-
enjoy it. You know, you can even get immense pleasure out of master debating.
I think what's
It's true.
funnier than me laughing at it is me acting like it wasn't funny, and that's why I'm just like stone falling you right
Well,
now.
Greg
I
doesn't
just think it
understand
makes it
master
funny.
debating.
I
Greg
think
is
it's
not a
funny.
master debater, is what I'm hearing actually.
One time I made that joke to somebody, and what friend? Oh, they're asking about the debates that I do, and I called myself a master debater, and they just didn't get
Didn't
the
get it.
joke, and then I had to explain the joke, which
That's
made
even
it so much
worse.
less funny.
Oh my
I was like, no, I can't do
You
this.
you
but
literally had post master debater clarity.
yes, that
Explaining
that
it
is-
doesn't work.
Yeah. See,
yeah,
I'm
I felt shame, and I had to get the little
Exactly.
napkin to wipe up my my terrible attempt at a joke.
There you
it's
go.
very culturally. It's very. I'm glad that you're still culturally Catholic. You know, with your shame.
Yes, that Catholic guilt never leaves.
Yeah, yeah. Good for
And
you, man.
maybe the final note of why do these things, you're gonna save the planet, you're gonna trigger the right, and also like it's fun. Right? Like if debates don't sound fun to you, like don't do them. There are so many amazing things you can do with your afternoon. You can make a YouTube video about your story. You can go volunteer. You can go knock doors. So like do it if it's fun. And what I found is like
Yeah.
I was nervous, but it has been a blast. And like I work in the corporate space, and so to like go from doing boring financial stuff and then like things that matter and like tons of views and fun with friends and like feeling like I'm making a difference. Like it's
Yeah.
fun, and it's fun to like see how well I can perform in debates, like increase over time. It's fun to call Oliver and Greg on a night like tonight to record a podcast like this. It's fun to see how people react. It is fun to see the likes and the views come in. It's fun to like analyze and break things down. It's fun to like go out to In and Out after some of these debates. Like I don't know, it's a super fun thing that I do. Like debates are difficult, but I'm not like flogging myself. Like talking about being culturally Catholic, like my penance is not going on Jubilee. Like it's fun. And so like if you think it might be fun and you think you're crazy enough to have fun in this space, like we need you, and learn the craft and reach out to us. Like it's
Yeah.
a fun space to be. So it's like
Yeah.
my final note of hope on top of all of these pros and cons and pragmatic concerns. Like it's fun, and I super enjoy the fact that like I've done all of these crazy things this year. Like it's fun apart from everything. It's just fun at the end of
Yeah.
the day.
For
Yeah.
sure. Make it a
Completely.
make it a hobby, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you just got to take a step away. You know what I mean? Sometimes it just gets overwhelming and you got to step away. So just have other stuff going on in your life for your own mental
Yeah.
well-being. Don't hinge your financial success on this is not, it's not a good way
Yeah.
to do it. That's very
Yeah.
quickly how it becomes not fun, is what
And
I
I
will
think that's
say.
also how you ironically become worse at it as well. Because like I, all three of us, without, doxing ourselves, I know I can say that all three of us, we have, careers we're working on outside of this. We have, other things we do, and like I can just focus on doing the best job I can. But if I'm like, I need to get a clip from this because I need the clip to go viral because my engagement's down and I can't pay my rent, that is going to mess with my ability to, you know, prioritize other things. And so, yeah, I would not expect this to become something that pays your rent.
Yeah, the number of people that pay their rent from debates is like three people. Three people that get it from actual people. If, like we said at the beginning, to call back to the start of this episode, if you want to work for a foreign government or you want to work for billionaires with fracking money, you absolutely can make you can make a living doing debate. Even
For
if
the
you're
Daily
not.
Wire.
Yeah, you can sell your soul to the Daily Wire or to the Koch brothers or to Russia if you want.
But
to
if
do
you're
it on
working for the
right.
good, but if you're doing it for the good guys,
They're all
there's
the
not a
same
lot of money
thing.
there. Yeah,
If you want to work for the good guys, like
yeah.
don't take it seriously. Keep your day job, and like you'll
Well,
get better over
take
time.
take it seriously while you're doing it, but
Yeah.
but understand that you're taking something very seriously that is not going to solve the real problems in your life.
Yeah, views on Jubilee do not correlate to saving your marriage or getting a promotion at work or fixing your car's radiator, or
Yeah.
it will not solve the crippling depression inside of your body.
Yeah.
Jubilee is a fun thing to do. It's not going to make or break the world, and if you do terribly and get dunked on, McDonald's still hires washed out Jubilee debaters as of now, as far as I'm aware.
Right. Right.
Like,
That makes it sound like
fine.
if you get dunked on Jubilee, your only fate and option is to work
Yeah.
at McDonald's.
That's what you have. That's what you have left for you.
Don't worry.
Also,
Just
there's
post
nothing
on
wrong with
LinkedIn,
working
you'll be
at.
fine.
There's nothing wrong with working at McDonald's. A
There's
job's
nothing
a
wrong
job.
with it.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
nothing
but
wrong.
no, and also very, very last thing, just because anything you do on Jubilee or talking about Jubilee or whatever, like the internet is forever, and like even if let's say you go on Jubilee and someone reaches out to you to do a podcast and like three people are gonna watch it or whatever, like someone could do a video essay on you 3 years from now and find that. And so like just don't say anything publicly that there are certain people you wouldn't want hearing it. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Protect yourself. Make sure you still have a little bit of a filter on the topic of you
Sure.
don't of like your work opportunities and blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah.
And
It's-
screenshots are a dangerous thing. Like people will DM, and I like to be snarky with my replies to hate comments, but I also have to go like, would I be able to defend this in a video essay? It's kind of like in the corporate world, they say like, never write an email that you wouldn't read in court. Like even if it's a really
Yeah,
funny
yeah.
joke or like a DM from some stranger, like think, could I explain this like 4D chess sarcastic, aggressive comment that I made to somebody? If you can, go for it, and I do a lot of that. But yeah, the internet's forever if you want to continue the career, and then also your employer might be watching it, also might not be. So like all of these things that we've said today, I'd put it this way, if you clip this podcast, we will have contradicted ourselves at least 25 times, 26 if you count carefully with. The internet's forever and none of this matters. And debates are helpful and debates aren't helpful. And stay emotional, but also get emotional. Like everything that we said contradicts itself because all of these things are dichotomies to be managed, and you're going to find your own unique voice and you're going to override our rules. Like as much as we are master debaters, we are not the council of what the internet sees as good debate. So find your voice, practice. The internet's forever and it's also not for forever. So all of these things is kind of a mess that you just got to hop into, and you're probably going to and also last thing, I think we're on like 4 lasts by this point. When I have clients in the video space that like want to record their own TikToks, I tell them your first 10 TikToks are going to be bad. So like your goal should be to make 10 bad TikToks, like get them out of the way. So be responsible with your first debates and also just like get it out of the way, and you're not going to do super amazing. Like your goal is to be boring and unmemorable in your first debate, and then kind of you're going to work your way up from there.
Yeah.
Oliver,
Your first time
what are
should
your
always
final
be
thoughts?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Your first time should always be boring and unmemorable. Sorry,
Yeah,
what are we
I
talking
thought
about?
that.
Sorry.
Yeah, I thought that, Cade. I think Cade. One thing that struck me the first time he debated was, wow, he's really boring and unmemorable, and so I think he's. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Come on, Cade. Why didn't you just give Michael Knowles a
He
softball and
didn't-
call him a
he didn't-
fascist to his
yeah,
face?
yeah.
God damn it, Cade.
Well, he is a fascist. Anyways, we don't have to get
I'm not
into all
saying
that.
I'm not saying he's not, but that did not go over very well in the online media space.
No comment. I'm friends with the person who said that, but I also get your point. I don't know. Oh God. Okay. I'm
All right,
hiding
well,
now.
I'm not.
This is why I'm wearing this.
All to say, get out there, do the thing. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. And
I just
yeah,
dropped my AirPod.
oh my goodness, Greg has
Okay.
escaped from frame.
There we go.
Still have to meet our 2-hour quota, otherwise you guys are not being let out of here, and I will release the blackmail. So, yeah, I think we're on like our
Nothing they
fifth
don't already
last
have.
one. Little did you know. Yeah, so get out there, do things. If you want to leave us a long hate comment about how our tiny audiences are platforming people, please consider not doing that and leaving a hate comment on the conservatives. Or you could either try to get mad at us or you could get mad at the conservatives. I'm just saying, not that you can never criticize people on your own side, but like this podcast is going to get
I
like
think you should
1,000
get-
views.
I think you should get mad at Cade because this is his podcast, so he's platforming
True.
me.
Everything,
So I would
anything
that
I
anyone
say
gets
that's
mad-
bad is Cade's fault actually for
Cade
platforming us.
Yeah, Cade has been talking to us in Discord. Like right now, he's been like, "Oh, say this, say that, say this, say that," and we have to.
That's
or
why
he
we all
won't
have
let us off
AirPods
of the
in.
live.
They're
yeah,
earpieces.
so anything I said that's
Earpieces.
bad is
Yep.
Cade. Thanks,
And
Cade.
anything good that you said, though, is you. It's like the Trump versus
It's
Biden
us.
economy.
Exactly.
All of the
Thank
good
you.
parts are from you guys. And if you say anything bad in a future video essay, it's reflective of me, and I told you how to do that. And that way,
Doesn't
you
that
never
happen with?
escape
There's something about God there too, right? God gets all the credit, no the blame. No,
something like that.
something like that.
And also tell us about the cat, Greg, and then we'll end the episode on the happy note of a fluffy cat.
This is Ella. We adopted her like 7 years ago. She's very cute, and she
Did you get it from the
hides.
cat store? Did you
Yeah,
adopt from
yeah,
the
the
cat?
cat
Did you go
store.
shopping at the cat
Designer
store?
cat.
Designer, yeah.
Yeah.
You stole
Yeah,
it from
and,
its mother.
She's afraid of strangers. So Cade has been over to my house before. Oliver, I think, is going to be over to my house in the future.
Is your cat gonna be
for a
there?
thing. Well, she's gonna be here, but you're not gonna see her. She's gonna be hiding.
She can be hiding. I'll
yeah,
find her.
You'll see. I have three cats, so see two of them, but the third one's gonna be
let's
hiding.
go.
Yeah, and you will not be able to find Ella at my house, but you can find me on YouTube. Greg does videos. And
Crazy plug.
Instagram. Thank you. Instagram and TikTok. Greg from Video One, just the number one.
I
I'm on
thought
all
you were going to do,
platforms.
and you can find me at 308 Negro Arroyo Lane. I thought you were going to do
No.
like a fake self-docs like
Walter
Breaking
White.
Bad.
Nope.
That was a very good plug. Oliver
Thank you.
Niehaus. First of
Yeah.
all, how do you spell your last name? And which version of your last name is your current handle?
Which version? Oh yeah, no, my current handle is actually how it's spelled. No, it's Oliver M and then Niehaus Niehaus. It's German. You pronounce the second vowel. Gosh, no Niehaus.
Niehaus.
Yeah, I've gotten that a lot, but you got to be careful because otherwise people will get mad at you.
That's true. Oh no,
yeah.
me being canceled.
Canceled. Yeah.
And if
so you
you're
can follow me
watching-
there on Instagram. It's that handle, Oliver M Niehaus. YouTube is also Oliver Niehaus. TikTok, I
Or
think,
look
is
up
Oliver Niehaus.
woke male feminist gets triggered, and you'll find
know it.
Oliver
Yeah.
as well on
You'll
YouTube.
you'll find me there. you
Yeah.
know? If you've seen any clip of Andrew Wilson being an absolute fucking creep, there's actually not a high chance it was me because that's like a daily occurrence for him. It might have been me, but it could have been someone else.
And if you're listening to this podcast, it means you are already on my platform. So follow me on the other platforms at the same thing that you're seeing this platform on.
This could be a clip.
Also, that's
It'd be
true.
really weird.
That
This
could
would be a really
clip.
weird thing to clip.
It could be like a one of those Shane Co. radio ads. Open Sundays till 8, Saturday Sundays till 5. Find us online at Shane Co. But yeah, you can find me on all the platforms doing all the things. Also, if you want to continue these discussions, consider joining my Discord for a whole $1 a month, or to making all of this work possible, flying out all the way to LA. That's thanks to all of my lovely Patreon supporters. So consider that there. And any hate comments, please direct towards Greg or Oliver and not my channel. And any love comments also send their way. Just don't comment on this.
Thank you.
And vicariously send all of your emotions to my guests, so that I'm no longer responsible.
Yeah. If you send me a hate comment, I'll give you Cade's phone number so you can you can take your anger out.
And if you send me a hate comment, I'll let you into Greg's house.
There you go. Yeah.
You could have Greg's cat if you leave me a hate comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, all you mean people, I'm married and I have a house. So how dare you? I win. I own a house.
Wow.
That's right. I have a house. Yeah. Haters.
I'm not married and I don't have a house. I do own a large studio with expensive gear that you should consider stealing. But apart from that, I don't have very many metrics of success other than a receding hairline and an average physique. So no house and no marriage yet. But
And he's
Well, my
House.
last name is a Neverhouse in German, so
Yeah.
I probably should be homeless.
But have you considered the opportunity economy, Oliver?
I don't think so. I just gotta
Yeah.
keep grinding though. And why not live out of your car? It's great job experience.
It's true. For when we are all sent to gulags one day, eventually, for being dissidents, for criticizing the dear leader. Yeah, so that's kind of like the wrap up to the wrap up of the wrap up of the conclusions wrap up. And so I think that's the end of the episode. And we'll see y'all eventually in a future episode. Please don't hate me and follow me, please. It really helps me finally love myself if you follow me. So we shall talk to everyone soon.